Sariputta is because his knowledge, his wisdom is so high that he dares to answer the Buddha quite bluntly. Well, I think we have gone through enough suttas tonight. We stop here. Anything to discuss? That means he's trying to say, I think, that he is equanimous. He does not love himself like most people. And on the other extreme, he does not despise himself like some ascetics who have not attained the equanimous state. They are practicing so hard, and they despise the body, despise themselves. They might commit suicide and all these things. But he says he does not despise himself, probably to show that he is equanimous, he has attained that equanimous state. You see, normally the Buddha and the Arahant disciples, they don't generally inform people that they have finished their work. But only that when they have attained enlightenment, generally they would go and see the Buddha and tell the Buddha that they have finished their work, but in such a way that there's no self. They don't say, oh, I've done my work, I already attained Arahanthood. They never talk like that because they have no more self. Instead, they will say, if a monk has finished his work, he would have such a state, or such, he would have, his character would be such and such. So in that way, the Buddha knows that they are trying to say they have finished their work. So later, when the Buddha had entered Parinibbana, then the monks and nuns who had attained enlightenment, they would go and see the Venerable Ananda and declare to the Venerable Ananda that they have attained enlightenment. So that's one thing. And the other thing is sometimes lay people ask the Buddha or the Arahants directly whether they have attained this state and they attain that state, like attain psychic power or attain Arahanthood or something. And being confronted thus, sometimes if they don't say anything, then people will think they have not attained, you see. So in that state, sometimes they are forced to say that they have already attained. So even the Buddha also sometimes lay people ask him directly. Then he say that actually it's a rude way of asking, But he said nevertheless he will satisfy them with an answer. Then he will say that he has finished his work. The other thing is sometimes like the Buddha asked the monks, his disciples, not to show psychic power. But he himself, sometimes when he thought the situation, in that situation is good to show, then he will show his psychic power, like some of the suttas where this ascetic challenged him to a debate and all this thing. And then the Buddha, after defeating the ascetic in front of a lot of people, then he will just fly off into the air and go back to his monastery. So that's just to show them how great the Buddha and his monks are, in case they had any doubt.
collection of Ajita of the Parayana. Is it a book?
Just now I mentioned it's from the Sutta Nipata, and the Sutta Nipata is one of the books in the Khuddaka Nikaya. No, I mean now it's in book form lah. But in the Buddha's time, it's just one of the suttas lah, one of the many suttas. Yeah. Yes, it's the same. It's the same. Only thing, consciousness, you can, in the Paticca Samuppada, there are two interpretations. One is that you can see it, for example, like the traditional interpretation, avijja paccaya sankhara, sankhara paccaya vijnanam. Vijnanam is the consciousness. So because of ignorance, you have volition. And because of volition, that means the will to live. You have the will to live. And because of the will to live, you have consciousness. Now, in that case, that consciousness, two ways to interpret it. One is, if you follow the traditional three lives interpretation, they say because of past life ignorance, but then the sankhara, they don't interpret as will to live, they interpret it as karma. You create karma in the past life. And because of that, in the present life, that consciousness is reborn. That consciousness starts again. That's one way of saying. That means that consciousness refers to the birth of a being. But another way of seeing is that you don't need to talk about the past life. You can consider it as moment to moment. Every moment in our existence, we have ignorance, and because of ignorance, we have the will, the strong will to live, and because of the strong will to live, our consciousness arises. As I mentioned, consciousness is not a constant stream. Consciousness arises momentarily and passes away, and you need something to make it arise again before it passes away. And what is that something? That something is that will to live. So prolongs that consciousness. When there's no more will to live, a person dies. Consciousness will stop. So you can consider it like that, moment to moment.
Is the consciousness and karma interrelated?
No, there are different interpretations. The volition, the will to live and the karma is a different interpretation. But that sankhara is interpreted by the traditional monks, follow the commentaries and all that, as karma. And that is the condition for sankhara, is a condition for karma to arise. So here I'm saying that sankhara is the will to live, whereas the traditional interpretation according to commentaries is karma. But then there is a fault with this, because if you say it's karma, then if a person does not create karma, it means he will stop existing. A person continues in samsara because of craving, not because of this karma. So, for example, there's a type of beings that are born in the fourth jhana plane, and they are unconscious, asanya satta. They have the mind does not work. They only have a body. So in that case, they don't create any karma. But does that mean because they don't create any karma that they will become liberated? No. Even they don't create any karma, after that they are still reborn. On the other hand, somebody like Angulimala, he has created a lot of karma. You think, okay, he has created so much karma, he must go to hell, so he cannot get out of samsara. But no, even though he has created so much heavy karma and he should go to hell, but because he understood the Dhamma and he practiced so hard, he let go of the will to live. Because when he let go of craving, let go of attachments, everything he let go, including the craving for life, he let go. So when he died, he is not reborn. Consciousness stops. So in this case, you can see that the consciousness stops. Vijnana does not come only when you let go. When you let go of craving, when you let go of attachment, when you let go of the will to live. Craving, of course, you have craving for existence, craving for non-existence, and craving for sensual pleasures. All this you let go. Then only a person can stop the consciousness from arising again. Not to do with karma, and does not have to do with karma. It has to do with letting go of our craving. You see, in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, when they describe how the Buddha attained Nibbana, he entered the fourth jhana, and coming out of the fourth jhana, he entered Nibbana. So it shows that the state of jhana is a very high state, where your mind has got to be tuned to the fourth jhana, then only you can enter. So that's why the Buddha says a person cannot become liberated without the four jhanas. In one of the suttas in the Majjhima Nikaya, the Buddha said it is impossible to attain destruction of the five lower fetters, which means anagamin and includes the arahant, without the four jhanas. So even if a person at that moment he does not enter the fourth jhana, but when he dies, if he wants to enter Nibbana, that state of mind at the last moment must be similar to that absolutely cool state of the fourth jhana. Then only he should be able to enter the Nibbana. Otherwise, without that state of mind, I think it's impossible. Your mind is a scattered mind, is a very disturbed mind. How can you enter Nibbana? You're not a focused mind. That is whether you have already attained it before. If you already attained it before, the mind can revert to that. If it is your everyday mind, if a person constantly abides in the fourth jhana, then when he's dying, even he dies of cancer, after a while he does not is no more conscious of the body. Then he goes back into his natural frequency, his everyday state. If his everyday state is abiding in that jhana, and then he can easily enter that jhana. Consciousness creates the world. It's not the consciousness.
Person say pass away.